YouTube, welcome to Geek Shh. Now, if you have an M4 Mac Mini or an M4 Mac Mini Pro and decided to do a third-party SSD upgrade, chances are the fan controller of your M4 Mac Mini is broken and you might not even know it. You see, one of the attributes of the M4 Mac Mini that we admire the most is its silent operation. I, for one, only hear mine when I'm rendering out videos in Adobe Premiere. But depending on what you're doing with your M4 Mac Mini, you might be used to never hearing it turn on at all, and that might end up being a serious problem. Now in this video, I'll show you not only how to test your system to see if your fan controller is broken, I will also show you how to fix it if indeed it is. And don't worry, because both of those goals can be accomplished free of charge. Now, separate from that, in this video, I will also be applying a thermal pad to my M4 Mac Mini Pro third-party SSD. So let's hurry up and get things started, but first, a word from our sponsor. Keys fan, do you have Windows 11, Windows 10, or even Windows XP, and would like to get yourself a cheap but genuine activation key at a 50% discount? Head on over to the link in the description, which is keysfan.com. Add the Windows variant you're looking for to your cart. Type in the code GSH50 and then watch the price of it drop drastically while proceeding to check out. But wait, let's not stop there because I'm pretty sure you need a Microsoft Office key as well, and Keys Fan has you covered for that. Add the variant you need to your cart. Type in the code GSH62. Once again, that's GSH62, and watch the price of it drop drastically while you're proceeding to check out. It's as simple as that. Anytime an activation key is in demand, always remember, Keys Fan. Now back to our regular scheduled program. All right, guys, so first thing we got to do is to test to see if our fan controller is actually still working. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type in on Google Mac's fan controller. Is it control or control? I don't even know. Oh, it's control. Right here, Crystal Idea. All right, then we're gonna go ahead and click on download, and right here, download for Mac OS. We go right here. So we downloaded it. Then we're gonna go ahead and install it. Open up. Then we're gonna move it to the application folder. Type in your password. All right, guys, so we already got it set up over here. As you can see, it shows you all the temperature values for your entire system. Now, right now, we don't have it configured yet. We just have it on auto, but it's not configured. So what I'm going to do is to test it real quick. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that same folder that I always was using on the last video. It's the 500 gig folder, one project, and I'm gonna send it over from my external drive to the desktop of my internal drive, and that should make the hard drive temperature raise like it did in the video I showed you guys earlier, or if you watch any of my third-party SSD upgrade videos. So as you can see, the temperature rising, but as you can see right here, the RPM of the fan is staying the same. It is not increasing. That's a problem. So the fan control is broke. We already verified it. We're all the way up to 92 degrees. That's crazy. And I also have this up here. You can see the fans is on 0%. You know what I mean? It's not working. So now it takes a little while for this to update the interval. This goes by intervals. This is iStat menu. It goes by intervals. So it takes a little while for it, but it should sync up to this temperature real quick just now. Hold on a second. So we could just verify. See? Now it just sunk up. You know what I mean? That goes by intervals, but this is more in real time. All right, so I'm gonna stop this because at the end of the day, that temperature is getting crazy. So let me go up here and delete it. Move it to trash. All right. We're gonna go back here. Now, we already So we already made sure that it wasn't working. Now what we're going to do now is over here, we're going to click on custom. Now you can put it to a constant RPM value, which we'll do later on when we're testing the thermal pad. But for now, we're going to go on to a sensor based value. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to put it to the SSD, the third party storage SSD. So we're going to put it there, and then you have parameters here. It will start after it reaches 42 degrees, and it will not let it reach 70 degrees, or it will just max out the fan speed. So we're going to put it there and we're going to press OK. All right. So now it's at OK, and it's already started up. It's at 3,500. We could just double check that right here. As you can see, it's at 64% because we just was sending the files. So we got to cool down the SSD. So it started up. I'm gonna let it cool down and get back down to 0, and then we're gonna send it over again. But as you can see, it's already working. All right, guys. So it calmed down. Remember, it starts up if it gets to 47 degrees. So now we're gonna go ahead and send this over to the desktop again. 500 gig folder. All right, so we're sending it over, and we'll pay attention to the temperature. So as you can see, it's already starting up. Now we're at 2200. I hear the fan going crazy. It's at 100 degrees. It's at 100 fan speed, not 100 degrees, but 100 fan speed. Because remember, the max it was going to allow it to get to is 70 degrees. Now it can't necessarily stop it from going over the 70 degrees, but what it can do is max out the RPM of the fan. So as you can see, the max is 4,900. So anytime it goes to 70 degrees or over, it's going to max it out to 100%. So now it works. It's doing what it needs to do. Hold on, let's see where we at right here. Now, if you saw the video before, the temperature basically, in my last video, the temperature basically got over 100 degrees Celsius when we was doing the same thing, transferring the one project folder from the external drive over to the desktop. But now that fan control is working again, it's stopping it from getting that hot. And it's doing a real good job, tell you honest truth. I can hear it going crazy. So let's just allow it to do its thing, and I'll be right back. So now, as you can see, the fan controller is indeed working. It should ramp back down to about, 0% usage at this point, because we're well under the 47 degrees that makes it start up. So it's working. Now, what I like to do, I don't necessarily like it to be tied to the SSD, because I edit off my external drive, which will basically, when I'm editing and I'm on Adobe Premiere and I'm rendering out videos, the SSD temperature will never really rise because I'm not utilizing it at all. I'm utilizing my external drive, but my CPU temperature will rise because it's using the CPU to render out the videos. So what I'm going to do is actually tie it to the CPU Performance Core 1, because that's when that temperature rise, I want the fan to turn on, and you can see the values right here. Now, when that makes the fan turn on, that should help out the SSD as well. So let's run another test and see if it does what it's supposed to do. All right, so now that we have it tied to the CPU Performance Core 1, now let's see what temperature we get when we're doing something on the computer. All right, we're gonna run the same exact test, transfer the 500 gig folder over, and we'll now see what temperature we end up getting. All right, so that works out better for me in my personal opinion because the highest the temperature got was 85 degrees. So that's pretty good, you know what I mean? And what we're going to do now, so the Performance Core 1 works out better in my personal opinion, but if you want to tie it to the Apple SSD, that works better. If that works better for you, that's fine as well. But you definitely want to make sure your CPU stays cool, and when the fan is ramping up to keep your CPU cool, it'll then keep your Apple SSD cool. So that's the fix right there, guys. And remember, you can tie it to multiple different things. You could tie it to one thing, whatever you want. If you want to tie it to efficiency core, the CPU core, you know, whatever, or the Apple SSD, you could do that. And you also can play around with the temperature here. And if you lower this down, let's say lower this down, that means the RPMs will go higher. So you definitely have a lot of options there. And if you want to, now this is the free version. You only could tie it to one thing. You can only tie the fan to one thing in the free version. But if you get the paid version, which is like $14.95, you can utilize more fans at that point. Not more fans, but you can tie the RPMs to more than one, you know, more than just the core. You could tie it to the CPU core and the Apple SSD. So you have more options if you get the paid version. But the free version is good enough in my personal opinion. Now, what we're going to... All right, guys. So this is what we're going to do now. Now it's time to test what the temperatures could get to when we apply a thermal pad to the internal SSD. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna change it from auto. I'm gonna put it to a custom value. Let's put it to like, let's say 1400, 1402. Okay, cool. So it's gonna be constantly running at 1400, around 1400. So now we're gonna run the same test again, and then let me go ahead and send it over. We're gonna see what the temperature raises to, what's the max temperature it gets to. And then what I'm going to do is open it up, put the thermal pad on, and then we're going to run the test again to see how high the temperature gets. All right, guys. So as you can see, it got all the way up to 104 degrees with a 1402 RPM constant value. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and open it up and apply a thermal pad, and then we're gonna come back and retest it with the thermal pad applied. All right, guys, so the thermal pad that we're gonna be using for this installation, I already had just laying around. It's a very thick thermal pad. I believe it's 2 millimeters. It's from a company called G-Lid. Now, if you watch any of my older videos when I was opening up Founder Edition graphic cards, 3080s, 3060 Ti's, 3070s, etc., you know I always use the G-Lid Extremes. Now, this is from the company G-Lid. I just don't know if it's a G-Lid Extreme or G-Lid Ultimate. I really don't know. Now, it should be G-Lid Extreme based on the texture of it. G-Lid Extremes was always more, you know, softer, and, you know, you could move it around easier, whereas the G-Lid Ultimates was always more firm. So I basically think it's the G-Lid Extreme. I'll have links to both of them in the description. Let's proceed. All right. So I pushed everything to the side. So we got to get it on. I don't know how exactly I want it to be on here. Like I said, I don't know if this is the Extreme or the Ultimate. The Ultimate was more firm. That's what I remember. I don't know which one this exactly is, but nonetheless, right here. I think what I want to do is to have it wrap around. Can't just put it like that. That's not going to work. Well, I can put it like that, but this part right here needs to wrap around. And I don't know if I want to wrap around on this side right here because of these. I don't know if I want to wrap that around. I know for a fact you want to cover up. I could cover up the NANDs without a problem. But hold on, let me cut a piece. Let me cut right here. All right, so I'm gonna cut this piece right here. All right. So put it like this, and then this part I want to wrap around the other side. So, and then this part right here, the fan should hold this part down. But you don't want it, you know, you want to help this side out a little bit. So let me see. All right. And then have this part wrap around. Oh, it broke off. Oh man, that broke. Yeah, I thought I'd be able to wrap around, but I can't. It breaks apart when you try to wrap around. It definitely breaks apart when you try to wrap around with it.
Hey, yo, Darko, you going crazy.
Let me do it. Oh, so the one underneath is messing with it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I was saying, I don't know if I necessarily recommend anyone to do this. So this part got to cut a little bit. It'll break off on its own. I think I need to break a little more off. Let's try it. Let's see. This is the piece that I got. You don't want it, I don't want it to necessarily touch the heatsink. That should be just enough room. And like I said, I definitely don't attempt anyone to do this. This is just for entertainment. I don't think anyone else should try to do this. Well, really depends on the results. All right, so that's in there. That's just enough space in there. I don't think y'all can see. So go back with the 8 and that's just enough. So we're going to screw it back in. Even though this is not perfect, it's kind of, you kind of could still see the NAND. It's not perfect, but it's good enough right now to try it out and see what happens. Now, this is what I'm really banking on. I'm banking on this holding this part down. Yep, and it's touching it. So the fan is going to help hold the thermal pad down. So far, so good, guys. All right, guys. So computer start up. So that's a good sign. Remember, I told y'all once again, I'm not telling no one to do this at all. Now we have it at 1402 like we did before. It's still the same value. Let's go ahead and transfer. Let's go ahead and transfer that folder over once again. That's 500 gigs. We're going to transfer it over to the desktop and we're going to pay attention and see how high the temperature rise on the SSD. Right, so we got it going right now and let's see. I believe the highest we got to was 104 before. So let's see if this makes a difference or this was just a waste of my time. Let's see. Well, I'll be damned. It was a success, guys. It definitely was a success because remember before we was getting all the way up to 104. I think the highest we got up was 74 degrees. I believe the highest I saw it get up to was 74. Did it get up to 80? I think 74. I can't remember. But I believe 74 was the highest I seen it get up to. And that was with 1400 constant RPM. So it's a success. It really works. Like, it definitely works. It's definitely keeping the temperature down. Now, one thing, I'm gonna go ahead and put this back to sensor value and I'm gonna go put it to performance core. We might as well do one with the performance core. I don't remember what temperature we got to when we was using the performance core, but we might as well run that one too, just to see what temperature it gets to. All right. Now, one thing I forgot to tell y'all, this is very important. This is the most important part. After you install Max fan controller and you base it on whatever you want to base it on, whether it's the SSD or the Performance Core 1, whatever you want to base it on, you have to go to preferences and you have to click on auto start minimize when you log in. You have to do that. So every time the computer starts up, if you restart your computer or turn it on your computer, it will always turn on max fan control. This is just one of the things you're going to have to do now. being that, you know, your fan controller is broken. See what I'm saying? So, but it's not a problem at all. It will start up and it will, you know, do whatever it has to do. So let's go ahead and send that folder over again, this time using what I was using before. Instead of constant value, we're going to do the CPU Performance Core 1 value. So let's go ahead and send it over again. Let's just test it. And I can't remember what it was before, what temperatures we was getting up to before. I really can't remember. So let's go ahead, send it over. All right, guys. So this test right here is not really an apples to apples comparison because it varies. You know, the RPMs of the fan will vary depending on what temperature the CPU goes to. So it's not really an apples to apples comparison. Whereas when I had it at a constant value of 1400 RPM, that is an apples to apples comparison. I just did this one for kicks and giggles. Nonetheless, so what I hope you understood in this video is that if you did a third-party SSD upgrade, then 9 times out of 10, your fan controller is broken. 2, I showed you how to test it and also fix it for free. 3, you don't necessarily need to add a thermal pad on there. Once you tie the fan controller to a component, it should keep the temperatures in check. But it's better to add the thermal pad onto it because even if you're looking at the OEM, that black paper that surrounds the NAND chips on there is indeed a thermal pad as well. But also, I'm not telling anyone to do the thermal pad. Like I said before, it's just interesting that I never seen anyone talk about this in terms of the fan controller being broken. I think that's something everyone just glossed over. And I think that might be the reason that you've seen some people NAND modules end up just, you know, passing away. Because they just didn't know that it was doing that. So depending on what you're doing on your M4 Mac Mini, it might have just overheated it so long that that was the end of it. So it's very interesting. Anyway, next week will be my video on the Chinese head units that you put in your car, the cheap Chinese head units, which is basically Android tablets. I will be doing my video next week on that. Anyway, once again, my name is DeMarco Payne for Geeks. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And last but not least, may the good news be yours.